Let me know when you're ready. Just say yes.
Welcome to the Apartment Rockstar podcast. Join the Apartment Rockstar Robert Martinez, a real estate industry icon and two-time National Independent Renter Owner of the Year, as he interviews the best in multifamily apartment investing and management. Follow his journey to 10,000 units and beyond.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Apartment Rockstar podcast. Hey, this is a Rising Star episode. If you remember last week, we presented a young lady named Megan who found us out of Rhode Island. She was a student who was learning about apartment investing and branding. And if you ever wanted to know, does branding work? Does your message get out there? It does. Today, I'm being joined by another Rising Star, Alec Paxton, who is from Wisconsin. Hey man, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm just so excited.
Before we get started, tell me about this gift you got me, because this is like really cool. This matches my golden octopus that I got from Grant Cardone. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so I've had this in I've had it in my house as a decoration for quite a while.
Love it.
And I just have always loved it, and you're a very positive guy, so I just thought.
Man, that's a thumbs up. I dig that. I tell you what, having positivity and optimism. It can come from within you, but sometimes it's difficult because things happen to you. But you need to have reminders. You need to have things that can get you going. I had a really positive conversation today with somebody who I haven't spoken to in just a little bit. And when I spoke to them, I left empowered. I left very motivated because they're a very positive person. So when I see this now, I'm going to not only remember that where I got it from Alex, but that I need to be positive. I don't need to have that conversation. It's within me, defining yourself. So thank you for this gift. I will treasure this forever. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Man, so what are we doing today, man? What are you here for?
I'm just here to, I'm in residential sales.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm in residential sales. I sell single family, multifamily up in Wisconsin. And as I grow and watching your stuff on Instagram, I really like what you're doing, and I want to know, obviously I know about real estate and all that, but how do I get to where you are, and how do I do what you're doing, and how do I get my first deal like you had?
Well, you're doing pretty well. You said you've done $15 million this year in sales?
Yeah.
And this your first year in operation?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so reinvest in yourself.
Okay.
Reinvest in yourself. I think what you're doing here today is amazing. Before you can invest in anything, you have to invest in yourself. That's one of our taglines we have here as a company. And I've gotten a chance to go see Gary Vaynerchuk.
Love Gary V.
Done that a couple times, and he gives a certain vibe. And then I've gone to see Grant Cardone now, and he gives a different vibe. And I can tell you, it costs money to go. It's not cheap. So you're spending money to be here. You have travel costs. You have carrying costs, you have other kind of costs, business, you're slowing everything down, but you're committing to yourself. So that's the first step, because nothing in life is free. It comes with investment into yourself. It comes with your own risk as well. If you want what everybody else has, then do what everybody else has. Do what everybody else does. If you want something a little bit different, then do something different. Find out those mentors, target them, see what they're doing, and try to change your life, or try to adopt some of their strategies and their business habits. Certainly, I love both Gary and I love Grant because they each teach a different lesson. Gary's mission is, or his focus is, before you are anything, we're a property management company, we are a media company first, right? So after visiting Gary, I recognized I needed a videographer. I recognized that I needed someone like Tracy, who's our vice president of marketing, and now it's grown to all the support people that are underneath that. When I went to go see Grant, Grant says you are a sales company first before you are anything. Doesn't matter what you are. So after visiting Grant, I realized that, man, I don't have enough sales guys in here. I'm like, why do I need sales guys, right? But I do, because I'm out raising equity. I'm out promoting, right? So I can't be everywhere, and I need to have a team around me. So now we actually have our investor relations group, and that came from after being. So what my point is that spending the $10,000 or whatever that I spent on each of those guys, I came back with knowledge. And I came back with so much knowledge that I went back again. I was like, I need some more. I need another hit of this because I really got it. And it cost me a few more dollars. I wanted to not drink the quota by myself, so I took somebody with me. And of course, those are travel costs and carrying costs that you have there. But we got even more ideas. We came back with Cardone University, which has been a sales training tool that Grant teaches. And it was amazing to be in this big mastermind with 40 other people and listening to Grant talk and get into the mind of the master.
Yeah.
You know, because I see him.
That's my goal here with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just absorbing what you have to say, and you have a coaching platform.
We do.
Now, like, I'm definitely going to be using that.
Yeah.
Just because, like, being here with you, it's so cool. And I actually bought, was it Sales 101?
Yeah.
Your first course. That is great, by the way.
Good. I'm glad you like it. We just released it
cool.
recently, so it was a lot of fun to film. It was a lot of fun to go. You know, that knowledge comes from my experience, right? But when I first got started, I did the same thing. I paid $10,000 to a real estate club here in Houston, and I got my knowledge. You know, I got my experience, but I networked, and that's the big key of life that probably mom and dad don't talk to you about. You need to be able to learn how to present. You need to be able to put yourself in a out of your comfort zone and go shake hands and kiss babies.
Okay.
Because it's your net worth is about your network, who you know. This morning, I had a conversation with a friend, and she said something that I remembered in my head, and later on, I mentioned that conversation to somebody else, and then it stemmed into another conversation on like, hey, look at this, and if I had not had that conversation, this other tertiary conversation would not have occurred, and there's some real dynamite behind that conversation. So it's about waking up in the morning, picking up the phone, calling somebody, getting some inspiration, and going.
Yeah. So how did you figure out like how to build your company? Like, right, you put Tracy in the place to be successful. You put all these people in the place to be successful. Was that these mentors that you talk about showing you how to do that and who to hire and where to put them? Because like, scaling's hard. Yeah, scaling's really
Being
hard.
here, you've already cut off years off of your map that I didn't do.
Okay.
You know, I couldn't afford someone like Tracy or Natalie or anybody. I mean, it was a one-man shop going up when I got started back in 2007, and then again when I restarted Rockstar in 2011. You know, it was a one-man show. You know, I wore all the hats. I was the marketing guy. I was the sales trainer. I was the head of operations. I mean, so it's, you know, having these people here today with me, it's just an unbelievable blessing, right? But it becomes after years and years of hard work. And I wish they were around so they could have seen how different this was, you know, because they walk into this and it's like, oh, it's just, you know, this is the next big thing we're going to do. And it's not like that. There was a lot of like one-man show kind of stuff, you know, and, you know, so I think what it is, it just takes time. It takes time. You're going to do it one of two ways. You're either going to do it the way I did, which I'm not saying is right by any means, but it was slow. There was one deal a year, one acquisition a year for the first 3 or 4 years. And the next, in year 3 or year 4.
But now you're up and cranking though, right?
We're up and cranking.
Now you are.
Right, we're up and cranking. But what if I had found a mentor who was willing to help me join my company in the beginning, or an angel investor, you know? Like if you go to all these Silicon Valley startups, right? The reason why they get big is because they're out there going in and they recruit people that have been where they want to go, right? Already, I didn't do any of that. I didn't know to do that.
Okay,
I was by myself, and so I grew. So I was trying to say, when you invest your time into an educational program, or you invest your time into a mentorship program, you get asked those questions. You know, I told you a minute ago I went to go see Grant. I sat there the whole time, and I'm reading and I'm writing down notes. I recorded the whole thing 2 days straight, and I remember. Here's the interesting thing. I remember that I was the only one in the room that had more than 50 units. Okay, and as I'm in there, I'm hearing Grant talk, but I'm hearing something very different than what they were hearing. And so I started asking questions about asset management. I started asking questions about how many are on his investor relations team. I'm asking questions like, hey, tell me about the rest of your corporate team, because I'm at that level today.
What was your main question, like how to scale and why he had those people in place?
Yeah.
Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
that's where
cool.
I'm going with
That's
that.
like, yeah.
That's where I'm going with that. What you're doing today is essentially what I did a month and a half ago, 2 months ago when I flew to Miami. I actually did that twice. Went to steam in Denver the month before and then went to Miami. But scaling comes with time. Don't rush the process, because the worst thing you can do is jump into this chair not having lived the lessons. You understand? Because you're not going to know what you're going to miss. You're going to make mistakes, and at this level, they're expensive mistakes. Let your maturation process, your maturity catch up with your actions, and grow. Now, push yourself,
of course,
but don't. You're still very young. You're 23, right? So, you know, you hear Gary all the time. He goes, I would gladly go back to be 23 as long as I can keep what's in here. Mm-hmm. Take all my money away, give me $0, and I'll be 10 times as big later on. So, why? Because he was going to be his own personal mentor. He's keeping his knowledge. He's keeping what people pay him money for. Mm-hmm. So, same with you. It's just, you got to just pay for that education. Pay to play. It's education. It's school.
I'm learning that. Like,
right?
I've like really like listening to you in the past even month, I've really realized that I need to like invest in myself.
You do.
Like, really hunker down. Even if it's 20 grand.
You do.
Like, boom, here we go. Let's go meet so-and-so.
Because what you're paying for is somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
You're paying for what to do and what not to do. Okay. I know right now that in the beginning, I bought a lot of deals that were 100 units, 120 units. I mean, half of my portfolio for the longest time was under 150 units. And I thought I did that because I could control those assets much better.
But was it not enough units to hire like a full-time maintenance person? Like you always
No, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to go get a Tracy though.
Okay.
It wasn't enough to get that upper management kind of level.
Okay.
It was meant so that I could keep control because I was subsidizing everybody's work. But what if I had a 200 unit deal or a 300 unit deal? I didn't buy those because it's more risk. But in reality, it's more safety. Because if you have 300 units or 200 units, you have more income. And what does Grant say all the time? You don't have an expense problem, you have an income problem. I couldn't get better quality staff or help or technical expertise. I had to do it all because I didn't know that I wasn't bringing enough income. Had I had 200, 300, I could have had a better manager. I could have maybe had a regional manager. But I had to play all those roles because I was playing it small.
Got it.
Keeping it small.
How do you know like what to pay people that you bring on, right? Like say you want to hire somebody and you want them to be high quality. Like where did you find out what to pay them and what you're going to have to pay them? Or did you invest in the person and then that kind of like worked back? Like, hey, what's your salary?
Ask me your question again. In the beginning, or what do you mean?
How do you know what to pay somebody?
Okay.
That's high quality.
Yeah, I think you can like in the National Apartment Association, they publish a salary guide, so you can kind of understand where ranges are.
Okay.
And it's a national average, right? So you're gonna have to like, if you're in Wisconsin, how does that range against the national average? That will include Houston, but will also include New York or Los Angeles, right? Okay. So the higher end area. So that's available there. You can also talk to recruiters and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody. Hey, great. That salary, they'll tell you exactly that range between 60 and 80 or between 90 and 100 or something, right? And you can figure out from there. Now, I will say this though, those kind of players will not come work for a small player. Because they think like you, there's no security. We attract talent now like I've never seen before because we now have scale. But as I couldn't afford Tracy, 5 years ago, I would never have been able to attract Tracy 5 years ago either.
Don't you say that about your operations manager?
Yeah, I've got a great guy here too, that again, he came on as an addition after the subtraction that I made earlier this year where I had to give up something important to me to get to the next level, which was a friendship, right? I had to give up a business relationship because I needed something different to prepare us for next year and the years to come. And so, it was a trade out, right? But it removed a lot of stress off of me because I had somebody now who's got as much gray hair as I do, and who's run 23,000 units, and he did it for a long time, and I've run 4,000. I'm just getting into this number. So as Tracy ran higher marketing teams and higher unit counts, I can borrow off of that knowledge. I can lean on that knowledge.
Got it.
Right? But I had to work to get there to be able to afford. Because they're quality people, they know what they bring to the table, right?
Sure.
So you have to just ask yourself, do I want to do? I mean, I could stop right now, never buy another deal, and let the team run it over, run the company, and we could be fine. I could do great. Yeah, I'm not wired for fun. It's not in my DNA. I think anybody who knows me knows that we're wired to not just win, but to dominate. There is an expectation of winning in this company, and I think when it's strong at the top, it's expected at the top, I think everybody that's there drinks the Kool-Aid. And then when you start showing the wins, when you start the achievement, when it just builds and it builds and it builds. For example, just recently we won one of our properties won Property of the Year in its category, and that was our 18th City, State, National Apartment Association Award. But as important, it was our 10th year in a row where we didn't break our streak of winning a city, state, or national apartment association award. So that shows legacy, that shows accomplishment. And you know what? As Grant says, you got to promote it or you're demoting it. And the whole team believes in, the whole company understands it. They're the first ones to know that lesson. And then we push it out to social, which is a game changer. I mean, there's no reason for anybody to be irrelevant today. Everybody has a brand. Some are just more known than others because you choose to make it known. Mom and dad say, don't talk about yourself. Mom and dad say, keep your mouth shut. Mom and dad say, just be quiet.
Be humble.
And be humble. And It's not about being humble. It's about being proud. I'm proud of who I am, but it's my job to let you know who I am.
Yeah.
It's my job to educate you on who we are and see if we're a good fit with each other or not.
Yeah.
But if I just stay quiet, you're irrelevant. And in today's world, if you're quiet, you're going to get killed. Right? You got to stand above the noise. You got to do something. Once in a while, Grant would do something crazy and say that I'm going to declare bankruptcy, which is really scary for a guy that's.
But it's attention.
But it's attention.
It's attention.
And you know what follows attention? Money. Money follows attention, and attention follows money. And it was a drastic move, but people were talking about him.
Everybody was talking about it.
They're talking about everything he did, and guess what? He has no problem continuing to generate, equity. I mean, the other day when I was there at his thing, we were in the beginning of our $13 million equity raise, and it was a big number. I've never done a single purchase that large before, and he just whipped out $50 million in 60 days and was ready to start the next fund, and I'm like, okay. So I'm one of those guys where if you expose me to something, I want it because I've seen it, and if I can see it, I can get it.
That's yeah.
Right? And so you being here now, you've seen a potential path for you in the future by looking at me being here.
Yes,
that
sir.
Now you can see it's always going to be in your head. Mm-hmm. And if you're wired correctly, you're going to want it. You're going to push for it. And every move you make is going to be like, what does Gary say? What is Gary's ultimate dream? You follow Gary, right? To buy the Jets.
It's a process of getting there for him.
Buy the Jets.
Yeah.
Right. So he said he likes to say that he likes to reverse backwards. Well, I've got to buy this company, flip it, sell it. And he's just doing that. He just sold his big wine company to Constellation Wines, which is like they own Ernst & Gallo and all the big wineries. And his whole goal was to get that sold. But what did he do? Well, he convinced us to buy a bunch of wine while we were there to visit with him. And he said, if you buy this wine, I'll do something for you. He was bartering, using time for money. Which Tracy, by the way, he actually owes us a meeting. We're gonna collect on that because I think Gary's a real guy. Yeah, he owes us a podcast or a meeting or a meetup or something.
Cool.
We just haven't done it. I'll let Sam deal with that. But he traded that time, and he was doing all that so he can get the sales that he needed to show Constellation that it was worth whatever valuation he got. And now he's out, and he's got his money, and he's going to do something else, right?
So you have a favor coming from Gary V.
Huh?
You have a favor coming from Gary V.
I have a favorite?
Favor.
Oh yeah, Gary owes me a favor. Absolutely, Gary.
That's a good favor.
I'm gonna collect.
That's a good person to have a favor for.
You know what? You know why? Because he's a good guy. He's genuine. He's real. And anybody's ever met him, he's as cool. I remember the very first time I met him. I was in New York. I was at one of those 4D events. It's called a Digital Deep Dive, and this is back in May of 17, and we were done. We had been there all day. It may be 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I'm outside. In New York, away from the building he's at. I'm on the street corner waiting for a taxi. And I'm just sitting there. I was looking at my phone, waiting for the taxi to come, or Uber, whatever it was. All of a sudden, I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's him. He goes, hey, how was it? You know how easy it was for him just to walk by?
Yeah.
And I'm done with this guy. I'm going to turn that way. I'm guilty of it. I may have done the same thing. I'm kind of tired. I've got things to do. I already gave up my time, and he didn't. He goes, how was it? Did you enjoy it? Oh, great. Hey, what was your most favorite piece about it? Like, he really wanted feedback. And then he asked me, did you get everything you wanted out of it? Yeah, I did. Now, today it's a different story because it was very new to me. I would actually have said a few more things, but I was a newbie. It was social media, learning branding was very new to me. But I just thought, wow, the heart that he showed to do that, he cared. I like that. Grant's not quite like that. Grant's a bit more transactional. But if you're there, you're okay. Because it's a transaction. I'm not there to be best friends. I don't expect you to be best friends with me. I didn't expect Gary's, tap on the shoulder or shaking hands or what have you. They're different people.
Okay.
But they're both going to get to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually funny because they have a little competition going if you pay attention. With each other. I think last I heard, Grant wanted to challenge Gary to a boxing competition or a wrestling match, or I forgot what it was.
Something crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's about finding mentors and then seeing what they do and taking the best from them.
Okay.
Because you can't copy anybody. Because when you can never duplicate, you can only imitate.
And make it your own.
And make it your own.
Like,
because you can't get the soul of it,
yeah.
right? You've got to hear it, understand it,
make it your own.
And make it your own.
That's exact. Yeah. Okay.
Make it your own. Like, this podcast is not like Gary's or Grant's. It's very different. This is our podcast,
Yeah.
you know, and we have a different style of presentation, and they have their own style, right? Everybody does their own thing, but everybody does podcasts, right?
Yeah. I'm just gonna look at
You have some questions?
Yeah, I do have some questions.
Let's do it.
All right, so I don't know if you want to.
I'll answer whatever
you
you
want.
want.
Is this live at all or no?
Absolutely, let's go.
Is it no? Is
No,
it
it's not live,
Live,
but I mean-
live. So I reposted.
But we're gonna talk. We're not gonna. edit.
I reposted one of your stories, and it
Good.
like to the fact of like color doesn't matter or something of that sort, and I just got torn apart on Instagram for it. Like everybody was ripping me. Like, is there a point where you get to have enough of credibility where people don't like rip on you on like social media and stuff?
No,
like
because
that,
if you
or
do
is it-
anything right, you're always gonna get ripped. But why
Okay.
would you care?
I've
I've never
I
been
was just
ripped by
curious.
somebody doing better than me,
Okay.
and that's what you got to worry about. Because guys who are doing better than me have better things to do
Okay.
than to rip me, right? They're not worried
For
about
sure.
that. It's the people that aren't doing anything else that are ripping you. People that are challenging your beliefs because you make them feel uncomfortable about their beliefs. Are you talking about like ethnicity and your last name and that kind of thing, or what are you talking about?
It was something, I can't exactly remember what it was that you posted, but I like tagged it up, and then you put it back on your story, and I just got like blown up about it.
Yeah,
it was so
yeah,
crazy.
you know, because it's your generation. It's the
Is
millennial
it?
generation. You know, you guys haven't lived life enough.
Okay.
You know, there's an expression. I'm probably going to chop this up, right? But if you're young, and you're not a Democrat, you have no heart. If you're not old, and not a Republican, you have no brain.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because your generation or the younger generation, and I was the same way, you only think about certain things. You don't think about the macro. And once you live life a little bit and you get some gray hair and some wrinkles, you realize there's a lot more than this ideology. Okay. You know, the one that I remember that you may be talking about, somebody said, with my last name, how can I support a guy like Trump, a person of color, or something like that? And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, that's your problem. Is that you want to identify with color, or you want to identify with a last name or ethnicity? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even think about that.
It's a mindset. Like,
It's a mindset.
How do people understand that? Like, how do you get somebody to understand that and like try to help somebody that just doesn't have that mindset? Like, is there a way? You know what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
know there's a way. I think you just have to come to your own conclusion. I went to Texas A&M University, and that is a mostly white university with a rich Southern history. I remember walking into, they have a corps. They have like an army, like a ROTC, but it's called the corps at A&M. And I remember one time I got invited to a buddy's dorm room, and I'd never been to the corps barracks. I wanted to see what they looked like. And I walked into this guy's bedroom, and it had a giant Dixie flag, you know, the big Confederate flag.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. And all of a sudden he starts to apologize. Hey, it doesn't mean nothing. I'm like, dude, I'm not, you know, and maybe because I was raised in South Texas, where the majority of the population is Hispanic, you know, 80% probably Hispanic. I never thought anything about color. I just didn't. I don't identify. You know, I think others in my family might. I just never chose to. It just, I wish I could tell you I knew why.
Yeah.
I don't, especially now in life, having achieved certain things and others and watching other people, it doesn't matter what your last name is. It really doesn't. And it doesn't matter where you even went to school. It just matters of a couple of things. What you're willing to risk, how hard you're willing to work, and if you're willing to look at the opportunity when it comes.
Okay.
You know, when I joined real estate, you know, I paid $10,000 on that. I remember I came home and I asked my wife, you know, I didn't ask her, I told her, hey, I'm going to join this club. I really want to join. I'm going to pay $10,000 tomorrow. This is Saturday night, because Saturday was a all-day single family boot camp, and Sunday was going to be multifamily. So she goes, whoa, hold on. Before you do that, I at least need to go and see what you're about to blow $10,000 of our family's money on. And so by the end of Sunday, she was drinking the Kool-Aid. Well, part of this club was that if you're going to syndicate and raise money from people, and you're going to operate stuff, you're going to walk away from your job and do this full time.
Okay.
And so, which meant that at the time I was making about 150, and as a sales guy, I believe sales is where you can make the most money. This is back in 07, 08.
You're selling oil machinery, right? Or something?
Yeah, I sold rotating equipment to the oil and gas market, and so did she. She was even better at it than I was. Significantly better at it actually than I was, but I walked away from my day job, and I traded 150 out for 36,000, and it was the best decision of my life.
Clearly.
You know, and so you have to have a certain amount of risk in you. You have to have a mindset that no matter what, I'm not going to lose. I told myself, I'm not going to lose this $10,000. I remember the first day of that club, the guy says, look around. 80% of you will hear this and do nothing with this information. But I already got your money, so make your choice. Yeah. I remember saying to myself, I ain't losing my $10,000. That was a lot. It's still a lot of money to me, but that was a significant amount of money to me back 15 years ago. And so you just have to make a commitment to yourself.
I love being in the uncomfortable situation of like risk and growth. I love living in the, I'm sure you do too, like love living in the uncertain. Like,
well, one of the things that I think helped my success was that because it was a club, there were other people that wanted the exact same thing that I did. So there's a lot of like-mindedness. So when you talk about like who's in your top 5, is there a mom or your dad who's negative? Are they toxic? Is it a boyfriend, girlfriend? Is it a best friend? Is it a family member? You know, they're going to shape who you are. Because I was in this club, and it was a giant Rich Dad Poor Dad club. Which if you have, no one has read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, you ought to read that. It is a game changer book. You will remember it in your life, and it will help you see things from a different perspective. But that club was like a giant Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And it was case study nights on Thursday. There was road trips to somebody's property, their apartments on Fridays. And you got to meet and shake hands with the guy that owns the deal. You're like, wow, he's showing you his P&L, and you get to meet his staff. You get to touch the brick, and it made it very real, right? But what I was saying is that everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid together, and there was no negativity. There was nobody saying, oh, this is not real. But outside that club, you're hearing that. You know, I remember when I graduated A&M and I told my parents I was going to go be a sales guy in the engineering. My dad thought that I was going to sell vacuum cleaners or Britannica encyclopedias door to door. He didn't understand there's technical sales out there in the world because he had never seen it. So there was negativity there. When I told him that I was going to walk away from my day job and start pursuing real estate, oh, that's risky. What are you doing? You got a great life. You guys got 2 incomes. You're doing so well, you know. But he had never seen that. So he was telling me no. Nothing I do today or learn today that I learned from my parents or school. And that's really weird, right? Because who's your first mentors?
Parents.
Your parents. Who are your second mentors? Your teachers or your instructors. And none of them taught you this, but then again, none of them have this either.
Yeah.
So how can they teach you? Now you go look at Donald Trump, right? Who is his mentor? Well, his father. His father was like a monster apartment builder in Brooklyn, you know? And so that's where he grew. And then he had a chip on his shoulder about wanting to show his dad that I could do more because he was not the favorite son. Yeah. There was another son who was the favorite son, but he just couldn't achieve what Donald did. I think it just fueled him. So my point to that is be very, very careful who you surround yourself with. You asked me earlier about does it bother you, criticism? Like, no, because I don't know these people. You know, I don't need their approval. I'm looking at guys like Grant. That's in my club. I'm looking at guys like Gary, that's in my club, and I see them doing that. In fact, I got ostracized in my real estate club later because I started following guys like that who they disagreed with because they didn't teach that. In my real estate club, they show you how to buy an apartment, they give you the basic fundamentals, and you go at it. They don't teach you marketing and branding. Nobody in that club has a Tracy Tyler, not one.
That's insane.
But I wanted more, so I pursued a Tracy Tyler. None of them have a Natalie, who does our videography and who does everything else on our podcast and everything that she does, you know, in the branding aspect. But I choose that I needed to have that. Why would you need that? There's no money there. She doesn't, what's the ROI on that? Yeah. Right, well, what Gary said, well, what's the ROI on your mother? Right, how do you measure it? Well, I measure her by you sitting here. I measure Tracy by you sitting here. You wouldn't know who we were without them here.
1,000%.
Right? And so you have to be willing to take a risk, a business risk, and spend money out of your own pocket, right? Because each of their salaries would be in my pocket otherwise, you know. But to get ahead, you have to know where did I get that idea from? Gary had a videographer. Yeah. What's the guy's name? D-Rock.
D-Rock, we followed him everywhere, everything. That's where I got Jack from.
There you go, Jack.
Same thing. I was like,
and
Gary, do it.
Gary's got his guy. I can't think of his name right now, but I can see his face. You know, it's part of branding in 2020.
How do you feel about college? I dropped out of college. I never finished. I went for 3 semesters. But how do you feel about college as a whole, like in today's day and age? I know you went to Texas A&M.
Yeah, college, there's an ROI on college.
Okay.
It was a better ROI when I was your age.
Okay.
It's very, very expensive today. And I think that you need to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. I think college today, I mean, I didn't learn any of this in college.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You realize? Yeah.
There was networking opportunities. There's people if I could reshape college, I would make sure everybody waited 4 years after high school.
Before going to college?
Yeah.
Like to give it a shot, like at the real world without or
Yeah.
something? So you would have people
I'd have people go to work.
If they make it.
Or
great.
travel or go do something and find themselves for 4 years without mom and dad telling them what to do. Because why do most people go to college? Because mom and dad tell you to go to college.
Yeah.
But then they send you to college without any instruction. They send you to college really without any kind of map. And it's a very expensive lesson. I actually went to the local university for 2 years and saved half of my tuition because it was minuscule back home compared to going to Texas A&M University, which is a top 3, top 4 enrollment in the country. I think that if children were to graduate and then wait 4 years and see, did they find a career? Are they happy? Or even if they did find a career, I know what I'm interested in now. I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but you know what? I really like film, or I really like digital marketing, or I really like this. Well, now you have a purpose. So many kids go to college, and it's just an extended play date.
It's a vacation.
It's a vacation.
When I was there, I didn't do anything. I
Yeah.
was like, whatever, here we go.
Yeah, and that's why so many kids fell out in the first year or two because they weren't mentally ready.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I know when I went to college, I was worried about that, so I stayed home. I also wasn't prepared to do my own laundry. I wasn't prepared to do little things because mom and dad hadn't shown me that. They didn't baby me and taking care of me. And so even when I transferred in my junior year, I didn't know a lot of basics to take care of myself. I relied on my cousin, who was my first roommate, to help me cook a little bit and show me how to do laundry. And it's like, but he had done it because his parents had broken up when I was young. And so I think his mom needed help. And so he learned some of that function. And so he showed me some of that in college, though. Okay. You know, so I think that if kids would wait just a little bit, they would get a little more, as I said before, right? There's young and older. Well, you would get 4 more years of experience and kind of figure out, you know what, I really don't want to go to college. Or, hey, I do want to go, but I know what I want to do. So,
do you hire people only if they have a college degree?
No.
It doesn't.
No,
Okay.
it's not. There's not. Most of our property managers do not have college degrees. Many in our corporate team do, though. It's interesting because the price point for somebody straight out of school is not too dissimilar than the price point of somebody else that I could hire. But I feel that there is a young vibe coming out of school. I feel that there's an upside as well. Not everybody who didn't go to school, they just didn't have the opportunity or something happened. I'm not saying it's a requirement.
Yeah.
But in marketing today, in our corporate team, we have a lot of young millennials in our team, and I think they work with us and they do a tremendous job and they blend together. And I like being around that younger vibe. You know, I really do.
Cool.
And so I also need a certain IQ to keep up. And just because you have a college degree doesn't mean you have a certain IQ. We hire what we need.
Yeah.
And if that person has great, but IQ is required. You got to be able to keep up because we're talking a lot, we're introducing concepts, and we're moving on to the next one. And there's no retrading back, right? So no, I don't think it's not a requirement. I can tell you in the last 3 years, we've added from no college degrees to probably 13 today. Tracy, probably if you look at everybody on the corporate team, I can see the difference.
Okay.
It's no longer a one-man show. I see a lot of shared knowledge. I see a lot of work ethic. I see a lot of our professor once told me, all college does is show for your first employer that you made a commitment to something.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
But at least you made a commitment and you did it. So I know you can do it. I know you can make a commitment. Everybody else you don't know, you have to find out. That makes sense?
That does make sense.
But nothing else separates us.
Okay.
And that's all it is. That's all in life is separation. It's risk and follow through. Somebody had the idea for Uber before Uber, but they didn't follow through.
Yeah.
There's always somebody else, but they didn't follow through. They had the idea, but they didn't follow through. So I know you've got your own, you have aspiration to want to become a multifamily owner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now your income comes from your commission off of your real estate sales.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you doing with that money?
I invested in property, so I have
Good.
I have like $4 million under management right now.
Good.
So
That you own and manage yourself?
Yeah, I do a lot of duplexes.
You own $4 million worth of investments?
Yeah.
At 23 years old?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Congratulations.
fun. So a little bit about me and my history. My mom is in real estate.
There's an example. You see, you had a mentor that already had it.
She didn't really teach me anything though. So she had me like super young, 18 years old.
Wow.
So like we had a lot of like family like issues at the household and stuff like that. And then, so she was like really focused on working, like to make it. She had to support me, my sister, all of that. So she didn't really have the time to like sit down and be like, this is why I'm doing real estate. Like this is the investment. So I didn't even figure out until like 21. I lived in New York for a little bit, did some modeling and acting there, came back, and I was just like super money hungry. Like I was like, how can I make money? I don't ever want to be poor. We were very poor until I was like 17, like extremely poor. Like couldn't even afford to go out to eat on Christmas for Christmas food or whatever. So I was like, how can I get out of this and start making money? And then real estate it was. And then from there it was just like, I'm going to build a team. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's like came to fruition. So.
Well, I love it because again, you had some early struggle and it shaped you.
Yeah, You know, I feel like it's given me an edge.
You.
Yeah, and like I have to prove to the world that like it's gonna happen.
I think it's amazing too because I think social media has played a lot because you probably are on. You look at social media, you pay attention, right?
Yeah.
So you're seeing Gary, you're seeing Grant, you're seeing me, whoever that you look at. I've gone to a lot of these events and I never get surprised that I see somebody around your age bracket that has achieved already some of these things. I'm like, man, did these guys exist when I was that age? You know, or is it that there is social media out there? There's YouTube. There's a lot of things.
I feel like that plays a huge part.
I know it does.
Dude,
it has to.
Gary drilled into my brain that like I can do whatever I want. It's attainable. And then obviously the marketing side, like he helped you do that too.
Yes.
Like that's why I got Jack. And like it's just so crazy. So I think that does play a really big part.
I think it's big.
Into, like,
that's going
our
to your thing. How did
success.
you get the $4 million? Because that's a really good part to segment into. You know, I know you want to get into the multifamily, right? But you had to start from zero somewhere.
Yeah.
You lost from zero. So how did you get into the $4 million?
I just buy cheap condos. So my first ever home was $115,000. Condo up in Madison, Wisconsin, where I'm from, and I was serving at the nicest restaurant in Madison downtown, making $300 a night while also doing sales, like so real estate. So I would wake up at like 9 a.m., do real estate sales until 3 p.m., then go to work at Enavino, which was the restaurant. And I saved up enough, and then I bought that property in the winter, dead winter, because the market is like, everybody's super cold. I know you guys don't get snow down here, so up there it's like everybody's super cold and huddled up. So that allows property to sit on the market, and I went and I grabbed it. Come spring, 6 months later, $20,000 profit just from sitting there on that. And I just do that over and over and over again. And like,
how did you not eat it or want to spend it or buy a car or do something?
Oh, I hate that stuff. I don't know.
That's interesting. You know, most people that when they get a lot of money like that at one time, they want to spend it.
So I penny pinch like crazy. And I don't know where I got that mentality from or like how that is, but I've just always known that like my money needs to be working for me.
So then how did you go from that then into having your own brokerage firm?
Yeah.
Do you have a broker license?
Yeah, I got my broker's license. We got 4 people plus me. But how did I? I just got good at sales, and then.
So you're working for somebody else, or are you working under somebody else's house?
Yeah, I worked under somebody else. It didn't work out. They fired me. They were like kind of like they wanted to control me too much, and I like needed to expand.
Yeah.
And then I worked for somebody else, and I was bringing in more leads than they were giving me. So then I was like, screw this. Immediately on my 2-year, you have to have your broker or your real estate salesperson's license for 2 years in Wisconsin. I don't know if it's the same here.
Yeah, I think it is.
Took my brokers, and then boom, I was like, build a team, hire some people, get it going, let's rock. And then just started rolling from there, and
that's awesome.
It's been super fun.
So you've only had a brokerage for 1 year?
I haven't even had it for 1 year. We've been in business for like 4 months since June.
That's good.
So yeah.
So typically your broker fees are 3%?
Yep, 3%.
So 3% of 15 million is around 450 in gross sales this year. Before expenses. That's pretty good.
That's before expenses.
That's pretty good.
I'm just trying to crank that up.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
So, yeah, and then getting my first.
You have done it now. You have that coming in, and you have $4 million in assets that you own.
Yep.
That's great. I mean, you're on the right path for sure. You know, I don't think you should.
How do I go about my first deal? Like, how do I get my first deal in an apartment? Like in the
okay, so remember, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So you need to go and you need to visit the local brokers in the area. and learn who they are. Learn who the players are. Don't go to Loop Nair and those players. That's stupid. That's trash. That's trash.
Okay,
there's nothing that's trash.
Good to know.
The brokers are going to introduce to you what the deals are. You want to first find. You can do a few different ways. If depending on your income, you can buy a small deal like a 5 unit. Anything that's 5 units or more is considered multifamily. Okay, but I know you're thinking like, oh, it's too small. But
Yeah.
but you can control it. You can learn it, and then learn from it, and then move up.
Okay.
Right? You can learn the rehab process. You can learn how to lease properly. You can learn how to screen properly, and you can learn the valuation, the multiple increase, the force evaluation, the magic formula is the same on 5 units versus 500 units. Okay. So before you maybe get into a bigger deal like a 50 or 100 units where you can have a staff there, maybe learn what you need them to know first, because otherwise you're relying on them.
Yeah,
right?
And then you don't know how to teach.
Well, yeah, and the quality of manager you get at 50 units is not going to be the same quality of manager that Greystar or Rockstar gets at 400 units. You understand? You're going to get someone like, why would they work for you?
Mm-hmm.
You understand that?
That's a big
well,
issue.
That means what I'm saying is, if they are willing to work for you, then they probably don't have enough to offer somebody else. They're willing to take a job with somebody green who doesn't know. Okay. So if you can at least have a 5 unit, a 10 unit, a 15 unit under your belt, you know the process.
Okay.
Right? When I walked in from my sales career into real estate, I didn't know anything about apartments, but I knew sales. That's something like you probably know sales. So I could listen and watch what they were doing, and like, can we try something different? And you train them using your own sales techniques and your own strategy. People sent me to school to become a better sales guy, and so I remember some of these things. I retained some of it, and my thought was that if I can lease, if I can sell $1 million piece of equipment to a guy with a PhD, certainly I can lease an apartment for $600 to a guy making $45,000, right? Okay. It's the same thing. Sales is sales. Ask questions. Shut up.
Okay.
Make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Overcome the objection, disqualify it, and then come back and close at the end. Okay. Right? But you got to show your teams. Okay. But you can't do that if you don't know what you're talking about first. So I really believe a smaller deal, where you can get, there's no reason why you can't do multifamily tomorrow with a 10-unit deal. Yeah. Right? I mean, let's do the math real quick, right? I mean, you have your calculator? Yeah. So let's say, I don't know what stuff costs here. Let's say it's $70,000 a unit. And let's say you do a 10-unit deal. That's that's $700,000 purchase. Let's say 35% down. So what is that, 200 and change?
245.
You probably have that. And now you got an apartment deal. Mm-hmm. And that is your down payment of 25% and probably another 10% for a renovation or rehab or whatever you're going to do. Okay. And all you got to do is just, now you work it. Okay. And you hold it for 2-3 years. And remember, $1 is $17 in valuation. So a $10 rent bump can be tremendous on a deal like that.
Okay.
$20 rent bump is tremendous on a deal like that.
Okay. What do you suggest that I would go in and upgrade? Because you look for value add opportunities. You're Class B, right?
Right. So what I do is my number one thing is I don't want anybody to move out.
Okay.
Because you make your money when somebody renews, not when they move in. Mm-hmm. So your whole renovation has to be designed about what can I do to make them feel comfortable. One of the things we do is we do air conditions. Right? Maybe for you want to make sure the heater's working because you're in Madison, Wisconsin. But in Houston, Texas, it gets hot. We really have one season. It just gets a little warmer or cooler during the day, but it's one season. Right? I mean, it's nice outside, right? But we're in November. But I've been alive that I know on Christmas Day it can be 83 degrees outside because it just don't know what year that's going to be. Yeah. Other years it can be 32. Okay. Just don't know what year it's going to be. But it's important to have that air conditioning. So the basic service of what you have. If that level at 10 unit, 15 unit, they're not looking for the magic pool. They're not looking for the hot yoga room. They're not looking for any of that stuff. They want basic accommodations. So make sure your basic accommodations are working. Water, heat and cooling, and pressure.
Water, heat, and cooling, pressure. Okay.
Yeah. You want hot water on demand.
Yeah.
So change out the water heater, change out the boiler. Toilets, low flow water, low flow toilets, energy conservation, the air conditioning. And you'd be shocked at how fast you can build up your net worth that way.
Okay.
And you take it, hey, this is great. I do another one. I know a guy in San Antonio who had much less than I did starting out, and he bought 5 unit, 8 unit, 10 units. 17 units, 20 units, and he would just hold them, flip them, keep doing it. Last I checked, he got $9 million.
Wow. Okay.
In about 7-8 years, wow. maximum, maybe even 5 years. But he didn't have the high-paying job. He didn't have the money put away. He started out smaller.
Okay.
And he just did it. That's what I say. It takes time.
Takes time.
Takes time. Don't worry about scaling. Worry about building your net worth first.
Okay.
Build that up, because money is, the income is options.
Do you have a specific, like, I know you started investing like a little bit of South Texas, right? You have some complexes.
Yeah, we have a couple
there.
deals in South Texas.
Yeah. If there's no apartments or properties for sale in the Madison area, how far out should I go? Like,
As far
is
as you
there-
can drive.
As far as I can drive? Like, so what is that for you? 2 hours?
Well, I
3
haven't-
hours? Or like,
I mean, you need to be there with regularity in the beginning.
Got it.
You know, so if there's a renovation or whatever, you're gonna have a 2-hour drive every day, then you might want to consider moving there for a little bit, right? Because you're gonna kill 4 hours round trip,
Yeah.
right? I have a South Texas portfolio because I have a South Texas team,
Got it.
right? I don't go there. I haven't been there in months, but I have people that are there every single day,
Got it.
right? Because I have the unit count to support them. There's 500 units there, right? But I wouldn't go down there for a 5 unit,
Got it.
you know?
That makes sense.
I'd rather pay a little bit more locally so I don't have to drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Time.
So don't get away from the scaling. Get into just where can I? Because the more you're there, you're the most important person in the whole group. The more you're there, the better it's going to be.
Okay.
If you're not there and you don't have your systems or you don't have your processes in place, then you're open to the unknown variables.
Okay. So you're in, there's do you do any development?
I don't do any development. I just do a lot of value add deals.
Why do you not do development? Is it any specific reason? Just because
It's a
you
different
felt-
business model and it takes a different time.
Okay.
There's a lot. You got to get plans. You got to get the land. There's a lot of holding time. You buy your land today, then you start working on your plans. Then you got approval. Then you got to do construction. And what's happened? I mean, everybody that started their construction this year, now they're in COVID.
Yeah, and construction expenses are ridiculous right now.
I mean, to the point to where steel is cheaper than lumber
Okay.
right now. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's a different model. Doesn't mean we won't do it. I know a lot of guys that do what I do eventually evolve into it. You know, we didn't have any Class A. Now we have Class A. So it's just a different part of our maturation process. It just depends. If we recruit somebody and they have a lot of development experience, they're going to be asking me why we're not doing it. I don't know. Show me how to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And we might do it, right? But I know it's a different business model.
Okay.
You know, we talked about even doing storage or not storage, mobile home or RV parks. I don't know if you have any experience with any of that, Tracy, but I mean, I can't see how it's any different than what we do. You know, marketing's marketing. Your markets are different kind of clientele in the RV park or the mobile home market, but taking care of people is the same. If you take care of people, they'll take care of you, right? So, but for you, I would get started right away because you have the cash. You clearly shown it to me. So nothing's getting in the way of it other than you, and that's your fear.
Okay.
I mean, that's why you're here. You're here to get that advice. Go get it, right? Because you're leaving money on the table. You're young. You have energy. You have a lot of fight in you. You know, you can wear all the hats at one time. When you get a little older, then you can get some help. When you don't have to wear all the hats. All right. So what has been the big takeaway for you?
Big takeaway is get out of my own fear and just go for it and just take it. And to get mentorship and like really invest in yourself. That's been the biggest.
That's it. I mean,
Two
what
of the
gets in the way of a
biggest
great
things.
life? A good life,
Yeah.
right? So you got to be willing to give up something to get to the next level of yourself,
Yeah.
right? Always trust yourself.
Okay.
Right? A lot of people don't trust themselves, and so they convince themselves, or they get advice from people that, don't really think the same. So why are you listening to them? Right? Trust yourself. It's your dream. It's your life. And I'm telling you right now, you're 23. You can afford to make mistakes. So screw the fear. Screw the fear. That's what I told myself when I was got into real estate. I was 32, and I said, okay, I'm young enough that if this doesn't work out, I can start over. I can start over and I can do it again. I also had a support system because I had a spouse who made her own income. But there's nothing stopping you from you. You're 23. You're really showing yourself. So you are at a level of success already that most people are not at 23. I was not at 23. So keep pressing. Keep pressing.
Go on.
Keep
Not
pressing.
stopping it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
keep pressing.
going.
Trust yourself. Do things that make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
You know, and remember, people will come into your life for a reason, and then they will leave for a reason. So be careful what you say to people, and who you share your dreams with, because they are going to determine whether or not you move forward.
How much do you love your team? Like, do you think they're just the best in the world?
I live and breathe this team.
I live
and breathe this team. We had a nice treat, and I had a nice little communication. Almost about cried because it was just really. I needed to hear those words at that time, I think I give it a lot back. If anything else, I let everybody believe in themselves. I let them know that there's no issue here. We're not going to get yelled at. You're like, hey, let's make mistakes, but we'll make mistakes together. Just be smart about what you do and let's limit the mistakes, right? But there was a big atmosphere of, hey, let's try and let's see what happens. Let's be first to market. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we did it first. There is a lot of cheerleading going on at this company. I think there's a huge culture of winning, and it starts at the top. There's an expectation to win. We want to be nominated. We want to win. We want to compete, and then we want to dominate. And when we don't, we get pissy, and we cry a little bit about it. But then, you know what? You get better. You get better. I think if I can leave you with something, say your goals out loud all the time. All the time.
Do you believe in creation?
I do. I believe in. They call it the secret and whatever. I don't know. I know of the book. I've got the principle of it. I think the more you say something out loud, there's just something and then you put the work in, right? It's not like, oh, I want $1 million, and all of a sudden it's going to be there. No, you got to work for it. But if you say the plan, that's why Gary keeps saying the Jets, because he's getting there. He's going to get there. There's no doubt in my mind he will be an NFL owner one day. So it's one of those things where you say it, somehow, I don't know how it works, your brain kind of creates like a little pathway. When you sleep, you get ideas. Surround yourself with positivity. And just remember this, and I've never said this before, your spouse will determine your success. So marry well. Are you
married?
I'm not married anymore, but I can tell you that was the best decision when I was married with her, because I have no others who didn't marry well, and life's about momentum. Right, and when you have toxic issues and you keep starting over and you keep you can never get to where you need to go, it slows you down. And others who have who can be continuous keep moving. And so she was one of the best decisions of my life. I mean, she grounded us. She made us very strong. We were on the same page until one day we weren't.
Did work interfere with that? Do you think you're too busy and work too hard for a relationship, or?
Every relationship is different. Work did interfere in that, not for the reasons you think. It's everybody's built differently. Everybody's built to compete, and everybody needs to have purpose. So either you start out with it both being your purpose, this is your both career goal, or it's your career goal and they have their career goal and you meet in the middle. And if that happens, that's great. But if one of those career goals disappears, there could be problems. So support the other person, so they'll support you. Your dream is your dream, their dream is your dream, and you just meet in the middle at the end of the day. But I do think it could be together. I have seen a lot of successful husband and wife pairs.
I think that's so cool when that happens, is like a successful relationship that way. Like you guys both just help each other make it to the top, and I think that's fascinating.
If you do it right, you'll be labeled a power couple.
Yeah. Is that something that you dream of?
I was in it.
You were in it?
I was in it when two people come together and they bring their own talents or their own strengths, and together they make the other person better. It's amazing. And it's amazing when you don't have it anymore. Right? Because you miss that best friend, you miss that confidant. Your spouse should be the person that is the smartest person to you.
Okay.
Not because they know you, because if you married for the right reasons, you married a smart person. You married someone that you has a commonality with, that shares your religion, that shares your thought processes, that wants your goals. Wow, I've never gotten into this subject before. But
is it good? Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable. Yeah,
Okay.
Because I'm healed. I'm fine. It's one of those things that I know now that the right spouse is everything. So don't settle. You're very entrepreneurial. Yeah. I already see it. You have to be with someone similar.
Yes. Because
it can be toxic to somebody who is not entrepreneurial. You understand?
Yes.
You need someone that has their own drive and their own goals. The person I talked to this morning, they are very driven. And it woke me up, right? Because I wasn't feeling 100% this morning. I didn't sleep well for whatever reason. And I got, whoa, just hearing that positivity and that vibe. Let's go, we got to go. And I was like, wow, okay. And then a couple conversations occurred, and I'm like, it's stuck in my head. And I get to the office, and I'm sharing those conversations with Sam, and we start making phone calls. And that led into another conversation, and then another conversation. Today at 3:30, I have an interview with someone that I did not have planned on the books for today because of that morning conversation. So what I'm trying to say is, don't settle under any circumstances, because you're 23 and you have your whole life. So it doesn't matter if you're 23, 28, 33, 38. Do not settle.
Okay.
Do not settle. No, you'll know when it's right.
Okay.
You'll know. Date different people. Figure out personalities, and you'll see. I'm dating different people. I'm starting to understand what I like, what I don't like, but also what I need, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to figure out. You don't know what you need yet because you're still young, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be somebody that's energetic and ambitious.
Okay. Cool.
I think. How was it? It was a good time?
Fantastic.
Did you get anything? Did you get everything you asked for?
So much.
It is amazing.
I'm so excited.
It's amazing to have you here. You know, again, I give kudos to Tracy, Natalie, and the rest of our team because I can't believe our message is getting out like this, and people are watching us on social media. People are coming here. You know, it's me going to go see Grant. It's me going to go see Gary, and recently we went to go see Bradley. I don't know if you know Bradley, but fantastic. We just got back from his show, Tracy and I and Natalie, and you know we were there and we did a great podcast. It just got, you know, it just dropped yesterday, so I was listening to it in my office. But it's cool when the shoe's under the foot. You know, and maybe people come to visit you and you're like, wow, you're doing something right. It's like it's almost a validation of some of the things and some of the choices that you make early on where people are doubting you and they're you know, why are you doing that? Why are you on social media? Why are you talking about yourself? Why? Well, because that's what you're supposed to do today. And if you're willing to, you know, an old guy like me to be able to figure that out, you know, I don't feel like an old guy. I just feel like I've aged a little bit, but I don't feel like an old guy. But
how old are you?
I'm 46.
46.
I'm 46. Okay. But I think that, you know, it could be your dad, which is really weird to me right now. Now that I think about it, which is actually another conversation. It's another even funny. Second thought that came in my head. But yeah, you just got to go out there and go out in life with optimism, and optimism attracts optimism. You know. Go out there and challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to spend money on education because it's out there. I mean, it's what you're paying for. You're paying for a roadmap. You're paying for an opportunity to not make as many mistakes. And if, you know, as I said before, right, if you don't make those mistakes, well, you get momentum. Just like in a marriage, if you can find the right partner, you're not going to argue a lot. And you're going to keep going. You're going to have a good time. I think you're going to go great. And one day you'll get married and have babies and what have you. Same thing with your real estate career. If you've picked the right educational course, the right mentor, you're going to keep going. You're paying for it to not make those mistakes, and you keep moving forward. And next thing you know, you're thinking about being a $4 billion company. You know, I didn't have that imagination. I didn't think we were going to be a $4 billion company. When I go see Grant Cardone, I sat there with him, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm going to try to get to $10 billion so I can set up Blackstone. I need you to get to $4 billion." You know, so that we can sell together, you know, for more. I mean, you know how empowering that was for him to point me out and tell me, you know, that, hey, get to $4 billion. Actually, he told me $2 billion, but I'm going to double that up. $2 billion, so we can put our money together so I can get a higher valuation. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? So it's a full circle for me because this wasn't here 2017. This is all come in the last 3 years.
How cool is it to have one of your like mentors want to like help you and bring you up and partner like that too?
It's empowering.
That's insane.
It's empowering and it motivates
crazy.
you, but you know what? I don't hold on to it. It's in my head. I know it. I share it with the rest of the team because it's a big goal for all of us now. But hey, we're gonna create our own map. We're gonna write our own story, and things are gonna happen for us because we're not gonna imitate or duplicate. We're gonna adopt, and we're gonna come up with our own strategies. Man, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for
having us, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for this amazing gift. I will treasure that for a very long time. That's going to go on my desk. I really appreciate it. Might even stay here. I don't know. This is really, I love it. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Nice to
Thank
meet you guys.
You too.
Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Apartment Rockstar podcast. It was a lot of fun to see a young man who's already killing it out there in the world. You know, to come out there and just show you that it can be done. It just takes some effort. It takes a lot of heart, and it takes a little bit of risk. If I can help you or if Alec can help you, hey, drop us a line, hit us up at info@theapartmentrockstar.com, and we'll get back to you. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch you next time.
For listening to the Apartment Rockstar podcast, if you are interested in investing with us, go to rockstarcapital.com. Want to educate yourself in apartment investing and syndication? Go to theapartmentrockstar.com. This has been a production of Rockstar Capital.